Welcome. In today's video, we are going to be looking at table. First, we load our data set, sales data set. Let's take a look at our data set. What we have here is sales record. You can see we have the order ID, date, customer ID, customer name, category, product, unit price, total sales, and profit. Now let's go and see how we can create different tables with this data set. First thing we need to know in creating table is the concept of rows and columns. Let me drag a dimension, like category, into row. You can see the arrangement from top to bottom. If I take it into column, we're going to have them side by side. The categories of products, we have clothing, electronics, furniture, office supplies, and sports. The next thing I want us to look at is the difference between a measure and a dimension. What we have here is a dimension. Let's take another dimension and add to row again. You can see that we have categories and categories again. But we can decide to change the other category into dimension. What do I mean? Looking at our data set, you can see that the category you have electronics, office supplies, then we have electronics again. Now, we can decide to say, show us the count of the electronics. How many? 1, 2, to the n. So in this case, we are going to change this into a measure, which is a count. Then click on table. Now let me make this table bigger so that we can see clearly. I'll go to format, font, and then the sheet will change the font size of items on the sheet. So we have this. Let's see what happens. Here we have the row having the category and then another column with the counts or the frequency in which those items were sold. When we drag this to column, we're going to have it as columns. So the categories will now be columns and then the counts will now be in the rows. For a better visual, I will just drag it to row. The next thing I want us to look at is how to add more columns. For instance, we can decide to say, let's add the dimension again as a column. But this time around, we are going to change it to count and also change it to percentage. So to change it to percentage, we select here, go to quick calculations and select percentage of total. We click table. Now observe, you can see that we have, let me extend the table. You can see that we have the total count, the percentage of total count, and we have the count. We can format each of these items. They are here, they are grouped as measure values. We can format each of them by selecting here and going to format. What we have is going to be in percentage, and then we reduce it to 1 decimal place. So you can see we have them in 1 decimal place. And for count, we don't need decimal. So we select this. Now, observe, this is what represents the percentage. And you can see that it has a triangle here, a calculated field. This one is the count. So we select this and then go to format. Then we can change it to a standard number. And then we have it like this. So the entire table can be switched into rows and columns. We can, when we drag this measure to row and we drag this category to column, we have it like this. And then if we drag it back, we have it the way we presented it. This can be achieved by clicking here, by toggling this button, which is swap row and column. So whenever you click this, you swap the rows to column and then vice versa. Now the next thing we can do here is to create subcategories. A subcategory is where we have like category and then we have products. You know, products belong to categories. Now, if we drag product and drop beside category, we are going to have it subcategorized. But it's going to affect our calculation here. So we select the calculation and then we just follow the same process and just click again to refresh it. Now you can see that we have our category which is in rows, but still we have the product for each category, which is a good way of aggregating. So for instance, we have clothing, we have hat, jacket, jeans. You can see the percentage of the grand total. And then we have the counts. So we can decide to swap the order. Let's have the count before the percentage. To do that, we just come here and swap this, bring this down. We now have the count before the percentage. And we can decide to say the product should come before the category. If we want to do that, we just swap this like this, and then we have the product before the category. But here we can see redundancy where the product names are repeated. So I prefer this one that has this order. We can also bring up total sales to our column. So we bring up total sales to our column. Now you can see we have total sales. We can rename the columns. For instance, here we have count of category. Why not just leave it as count? And then here we have percentage of total sales. Why not just leave it as percentage? So to do that, we right-click on the item, go to Edit Alias, and then give it the name we want. So this, we just leave it as frequency. And then for this one, we right-click, Edit Alias, and we can leave it as percentage. Let's see, percentage of total. And there we go. So this is how we can manipulate table. Let's create another table. Open a new sheet. This time around, our aim is to create a report. We want to have a sales report. So for each product. Now, I will just drag product into rows. We have them. We can increase the font size. Again, as I said, select font. And then we just change this. And we have a bigger font size. Next thing, we bring the components that we need to have on this sales report. For instance, we can drag quantity to column. Click on table. And then we want to see, let's say, total sales to column. And then we want to see profit in column. Click on table. Now let me extend this a little. So you can see we have product. For each product, the quantity, the total sales. It's better to arrange it in such a way that we have the profit at the end. So we want to know the quantity of that product, the total sales, and the profit. What we need to do is to swap the order. We just drag profit here to the bottom. And then we have it like this. Now, if you look at what we have quantity, sales, and profit. But we didn't talk about tax. Let's say we want to calculate the tax. and then be able to compute the net profit instead of just profit. So this profit, we can rename it as gross profit. But first, let's go ahead and perform our calculation. To perform our calculation, we right-click here and select New Calculation and insert the formula. What is going to be tax? Tax is, for instance, 8% of the profit. So if our tax is 8% of the profit, tax is going to be profit, so we select profit, times 0.08, and then we click enter. Then the next thing is the net profit. The net profit is now going to be 92% of the profit. So we right click, go to New Calculation, and say profit. We select profit times 0.92, and then we have it. Now we can go and rename these headings. Just select here, right click, and then we rename it. So we are going to go to Edit Alias. To rename it, we go to Edit Alias and then give it the appropriate name. So here we see tax and select OK. For this column, we right click and go to Edit Alias and we say net profit. And then we have it. Something we can do here is we can sort our data. For instance, in the product, we have it sorted in alphabetical order, in ascending order. But we can click here to change it to descending order. Just click here. Then we have it in descending order, starting from Y or Z to A. So we can toggle it. Anytime we click, it will now sort it, and every other data element will follow like that. But we can sort any of the columns. For example, we want to sort quantity to see the highest before the least or the least before the highest. We just come here and click the arrow here. You can see, so we've sorted, and we can also sort it in ascending order. Now, the final touch to this report is the grand total. If you look at it, we don't have the grand total of quantity of items, total sales, grand profit, total tax, and total net profit. To do that, we go to Analyze, and we select Totals. Then we select Show Column Grand Total. We just select it. And then we have this. So this is how to create table. Table is an interesting visual. It's very useful. It aggregates our data, gives it a different view that one can appreciate. Thanks for watching. See you in the next series.